goal with this handbook is to better understand the logic of the global economic order. And to do so, we explore the archaeology of the emergence of this order. We start from the fact that the governance of markets started by the building by merchants and other intermediaries of private organizations that were organizing the exchange. Markets are essential because they allow the production and the distribution of goods through the exchange of those goods and services. They allow also the circulation of innovation and knowledge. They allow the distribution of risk among different participants in an economic system. And by the end, the way they are organized also impact on the sustainability of economic development, meaning both the social and environmental impact of economic activities. What do I mean by markets? I mean those systems, those complex social infrastructures that allow the exchange among strangers, that allows, in fact, impersonal exchange. Impersonal exchange is fundamental because then you can trade with people who are beyond your clans, beyond your culture, beyond your nation state. Historically, international markets were developed, or transnational markets were even developed before nation state emerged. And this goes against the current vision that international trade is totally based on political powers and the agreement or non-agreement among governments. Historically, actually, the trade system were developed by private agents, often in cities, and typically by intermediaries, by merchants, who basically develop system to secure transaction and to guarantee property rights and contracts. However, in fact, when it was uniquely based on individual agents, the scope of trade was of course limited. So those agents in those merchant cities, progressively they develop impersonal organization that organize mechanisms to govern trade. Then the city's government, then the national government stepped in and backed those organizations to allow the development of market at the national level. When it was question of trying to expand the market beyond the initial borders of the country, those governments built empires. So the colonial empires were a way to organize a single economic governance at the international level. That said, there were many discrepancies among the different economic orders, and it was difficult to manage international transactions. So then you still add the performance of private organizations, merchants, cities to organize trade among empires. After World War II, you had the collapse of the empires that started with World War I. So the colonial empires collapsed, and progressively the new nation state tried to build an international economic order. It's very complex to settle intergovernmental agreements because nations have different preferences, because they have different level of specialization. And when you try to integrate the governance of market, it has strong distribution effect or strong competitive effect. So it's very unlikely that you are able to produce general agreement among all nations. It's easier often to build agreements among governments that are governing relatively similar nations. But also, it's even easier to build bilateral agreements. So in practice, most intergovernmental agreements are very difficult to reach. They are imperfect, incomplete, and in fact, you have both general agreement, but also bilateral agreement and regional agreements, which result into many problems of coordinations for traders across those different jurisdiction, de facto jurisdiction, commercial jurisdiction. And so we still have a lot of governance that is relying on private ordering. Private ordering could be based on bilateral agreement among traders, but also multilateral agreements among different stakeholders into value chain, for instance. But also when those agreements are difficult to reach or difficult to manage, in fact, you might also prefer to internalize international transactions. So you have those multinational firms. So in this book, in this handbook, we try to better understand how the merchant and intermediaries, the industrial corporations, the governments, but also the public administrators, judges and regulators, and the citizens play a role in the building and dynamic of the global economic order.